Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tat Chat number 116. And I've titled this one "Tailoring Your Business to a Niche." Now, you may notice, oops, you may notice that there's something a bit different about tonight's chat. Nick isn't actually here. So sorry for the disappointment for those of you that are normally used to seeing Nick and myself chew the fat about whatever we kind of come across or the topics we come across. But unfortunately, Nick and Andrew have had that bank holiday weekend weirdness happen, and they forgot that today was actually Tuesday, and they're actually probably now in the middle or approaching some point of like a 13-mile walk. So they're doing their training for the moonwalk that we're doing in May, and they completely forgot that the chat was on today. So they're actually in the middle of a walk. And Nick only realized when he had started off on the walk. So he messaged me. Southwest Seller says, "No, Nick, unsubbing." I understand that. Thank you for that comment. Appreciate it. Let's just go through and say a few hellos. We've got Peter A in the chat. Hi, Peter. Thanks for popping in. Elaine's in the chat as well. We have got Chelsea, Stephen Bennett, Joan Glenn, Paul Mosley, Kay Horsley as well. Karin has joined us. Joan, Panzer, Stephen Moore, Diesel Engine Freak says 116 is my house number. Yeah, it's incredible how many chats we've actually managed to do over the past few years. It is mind blowing. Treasure Pirate Heather says hi as well. BCP, I only come for Nick, so yeah, see you later, says Sib K. Thanks. Paul Mosley, hi Z in his chat. And Darren says, "Hazy, hi there." Phoebe's in there. Richard Hale, Lex Oliver, Matt Morris says, "What's happening, guys?" Claire and Leah. Oh, so fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for popping in and saying hi. So today's topic, like I said, it's going to be me basically talking about it and obviously interacting with you guys in the chat. So I will be relying on you guys to come up with epic questions about stuff. And we will, hopefully go from there. But it was something that came across my mind because a couple of times I do get asked about, like, can I make a video about tech and learning about technology, like selling tech items, so selling like hi-fi equipment or selling like old VCRs or vintage electronics. Paul says, "Call Nick and now how knackered he is." I'm sure he will be pretty tired. When we did our 13-mile walk a couple of days ago, it was okay, but the days after that there is pain involved. So hopefully they're going to fare better than we did. But it is a pretty big distance, 13 miles, guys. So as I'm sure you can appreciate, even though it's just half the marathon. But yeah, I'm going to talk about this topic because I think it's quite an interesting one, because if you think about it, all of us, like I said, I get quite a few questions about, vintage electronics, how do you sell it, etc. And a lot of it comes down to just being prepared to be able to sell it. It's like preparation is the key. So if you don't prepare, then it makes things a lot more difficult. And I know talking about preparation may be funny coming from me, but in some ways I am prepared. So it does help. So if you think about it, clothing sellers tend to actually have mannequins or will have steamers. And you think about it, those are like tools they've got set up to make to prepare them to be able to actually sell clothes and prepare the clothes for like photographs quickly, because obviously they've got mannequins set up. They don't have to worry about folding them and showing them. And then they've got steamers set up, so they don't have to worry about ironing and things like that. They can process clothes quickly. If you look at video game sellers, you'll often find video game sellers will have every console, so they can quickly test test any video games they might find when they're out thrifting and hunting for them. Or they may have all the relevant TV cables, and they probably will have an old tube TV, so that if they are buying consoles, they've got a setup already there quickly to test it. And if you think about it, selling vintage electronics, etc., goes in the same vein as that. I just want to say a quick a thank you to Claire and Leah Resale, who have super chatted £2 saying, "Can you do the video in Krillin's accent?" Forget about it. is what I'm going to say to that. There is no way I can do the video in Krillin's accent as much as I would love to. Rob has got an amazing accent, definitely. For those of you that don't know, on the Sunday night stream on Nick's channel that Nick normally does with Andrea. Andrea was at a gig, so he just kind of invited myself and anyone else that was available, and Rob and Margaret popped in, and Rob is known as Krillin in the chat, as we all know, who's quite a proficient super chatter in Nick's channel, and he has done here as well, and he has got the most epic accent, and he said forget about it a couple of times. I thought that was just amazing. But yeah, he doesn't seem to think he's got an amazing accent. Stephen Moore says, I have stopped selling a lot of vintage electronics. If I can't test them, I don't like to sell them at the moment. And I think that's a really good point, Stephen. And that's what puts people off going into different niches. When you want to learn a new niche, sometimes you've just got to be a bit prepared. So like I said, quickly to recap, clothes sellers will have mannequins. They tend to have mannequins if they're doing it in bulk. They tend to have like those decent steamers. So they'll have the ability to quickly photograph and process clothes quickly. Video games guys will have consoles. They'll have all the relevant cables to connect the different consoles to TV. So if they come across a Nintendo 64, they've got the right cable for that, because Nintendo uses all the same cables pretty much. If they've found a PlayStation 1 or a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 3, they'll have the old AV cable for that. They might have some Sega cables lying around for the Mega Drive and for the Saturn or for the Dreamcast. And it just means you're prepared, so if you come across something, you're there. And if you think about it, a lot of you guys probably do this without thinking about it as well. So a lot of you guys will probably have at home a favorite CD that you use to test. Maybe if you find a Walkman out there, or you might even have a mini disc handy, so in case you come across a mini disc player, or if you found like a small micro, a lot of people find dictaphones and dictation machines, and they normally use those small micro cassettes, so you might have one of those handy, and that can help you, so you're prepared in that sense. If you've got a digital camcorder, I mean, I've actually got like a little box of these things, where I know if I find anything like that, I've got something to test it with. And the same applies when you're going into selling like vintage electronics. And you don't need as much as you may think. Let me just quickly go into the chat and see what people are talking about. A to Z Resellers popped in and says, hi all. Kevin Rosen says, I once walked 67 miles. That is unbelievable, but if it is the case, then that's fantastic. And let's have a look what else some comments coming in here. Kevin Rosen did that one. Falling on the bruises in the chat as well. Oh gosh, Southwest Seller says, I once walked 500 miles with two Scott lads wearing glasses. Yes, I'm sure you did, Southwest Sellers. Stevens asks, where is the snorer? Alfie is actually upstairs. He was in here, but he gets disturbed by the dogs barking and things, so I thought it best he'd be upstairs, and I think Beck's upstairs with him, so he should be comfortable. Matt Morris says, I need to get a steamer and a debobbler. Well, yeah, there you go, a debobbler. That's another epic little tool that clothes sellers use, and I think it's quite a handy one. They're very cheap, and they can really change how your clothes look. And also, to an extent, like I said, everybody does a bit of preparation. So we all have cameras. We all have like most people have a camera. Most people have a background set up. Now that background might be just your floor, or it might be a dedicated background, but it's a place that you've set up in your mind. So when you buy an item, you can go somewhere and photograph it. So when you go into a niche, it's just about expanding on that idea. So for example, when you're selling like vintage electronics, like I'm going to probably be getting more into now that we've started to list a lot of the RC stuff, is I've got like a little amp and speaker setup. So if you're out and about at the car boots, you will see many old amps and you'll see many old speakers. You can just buy like find I've got like a £5 Rotel amp that I got from a car boot, and I've got some Jammo speakers, which are quite nice little bookshelf speakers, and I will keep those no matter what. The amp actually isn't working that well. After a while it starts crackling and popping, but it doesn't matter because I can test any other equipment I find. So if I find a CD player, I can test it. If I find a record player, I can test it. And I've got speakers in case I find a different amp, I can test it, and it really does help. So it's just about taking that next step. John says, where's Bex? Bex is in her office working probably. Michelle Ainge, hi Michelle, says, where's Nick? I did mention to earlier, but I'll mention it again for you guys that are just joining us now. We've got 80 people in here now, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, Nick basically forgot today was Tuesday, and forgot that the chat was on, and he's in the middle of a 13-mile training walk right now. So I doubt very much he's going to make it back in time. So I thought the show must go on. And I thought I'd do a little topic about, tailoring your business, because we all do it to an extent. And I just thought it was an interesting topic. So obviously with the help of you guys in the chat, I'm sure we will make it an interesting, already we've been going for almost 15 minutes. Okay. Richard Hale says, my niche is car parts and automotive items and tools. I've also moved into some toys and games and consoles. The one thing I will not get into is clothing. Just cannot think of anything worse to sell. That is fair enough. Everyone's got their own, likes and dislikes. I'm just wondering, in terms of car parts, etc. Obviously, you can probably just check the condition of a car part, because to test it is not going to be feasible if it's outside of a vehicle. But I suppose it's just a case of inspecting and making sure there's no corrosion or rust or damage. So yeah, Michelle. Oh yeah, Peter's just telling Michelle what's going on with Nick. Southwest says, well, so anything that will make a profit, but clothes, no. Claire and Leah says, I need a label printer. That would be the best. Yep, that's like, I suppose the way you can break it down is there's two sets of tailoring your business. You've got the tools that I would say that any eBay seller could do with. I mean, you don't need a label printer, I would say, but at some stage, I would say, yeah, you probably do when you start doing a lot of volume, or if you just want that convenience. So there are tools out there. I think you can break down into two separate sections, because you've got tools that everyone needs. So for example, you'll need a camera or a smartphone to take photos. You'll need a printer of some kind, whether that's a label printer or a laser printer or an inkjet printer. But the more you print, the more economical you want your printing to be. And I think the most economical will obviously be a thermal printer, so like a label printer, like the Zebra one I recently picked up. And I think that would fall into that category. And I think you definitely do need that kind of I suppose, yeah, I would say at some stage you'll need like a label printer, just from the economics of it. But yeah, so you need those items to resell to an extent. So obviously you'll need a good internet connection, because you're working online and you're researching online. And then I think you need to have these other items. So for example, having blank Polaroid cartridges is a good one. I saw someone posting on the Chat group today that they love picking up Polaroid cameras. And believe it or not, you guys may not know this, you can test the mechanical functions and pretty much guarantee whether a Polaroid camera is working or not by keeping a Polaroid film cartridge, because Polaroid cameras, the old style ones, the way they function is their power is from the film cartridge. So there's no battery compartment. So if you're buying a Polaroid camera and looking around where the battery goes, you won't see a battery compartment. You need a film cartridge. Now the cartridge doesn't need to even have any film on it. Most film that you'll find is probably going to be expired. You can buy new film, but it's expensive. You're looking at around 17-18 pounds a cartridge. But if you keep a few blank cartridges, like for the Polaroid cameras, you pop it in, the camera will come to life. You'll be able to take a photo and see the flash function and things like that, and you'll be able to hear it kind of whirring away. So as you know, to see like the mechanics of it are working. So those are the kinds of things that are handy, definitely. Matt says, I also find it handy to keep things for when I need them. Yeah, e.g. a video game that doesn't work, I keep the box and artwork. So if I come across it again without any of those things, I can complete it. Yep, that's definitely a different way of looking at what we're talking about. But yes, you can obviously, if you feel confident that you're going to come across an item again, and you get a really nice example of a video game, it would be a shame. I sometimes do that with PlayStation 1 games. So if I come across PlayStation 1 games at a car boot or a charity shop, Even if the games themselves are not desirable, it doesn't stop me often buying them, even if they're a pound or two, because even if the games are absolute trash. So they did release a bunch of trash games on the PlayStation 1, like fake versions of Lion King and things like that, really like made by fourth, fifth parties. Like these games used to sell at £10 new. But the beauty is the cases were all the same. So even if you come across a really terrible title, as long as it's only a pound or two, if the case is in excellent condition, it's worth buying that title, ditching it, and keeping the case, because the next time you come across a nice game like a Crash Bandicoot or a Spyro or whatever, and the case has been trashed to smithereens, but you've got the inlays and you've got the disc and the manual, you can just transfer it, and that case will add so much value. So it's definitely worth doing that. So I agree with Matt there. Adrian, Mr. Diggs Deals, hi Adrian, says I bought a CD repair kit, has been selling lots of music CDs and DVDs. Yep, I mean, obviously you don't, the worry is if a lot of us guys deal in a lot of different things, and you only have a limited amount of space at home. So if you niche into multiple items and you get into multiple things, you can quickly find your space running short. So for example, if you're into video games, you might end up with a portable 14-inch TV, all the various cables and consoles, and that's going to take up a lot of room. And then if you're into hi-fi like myself, then you might find that you're keeping an amp and speaker setup separate as well, ready to rock and roll whenever you find one of those items. And then if you're selling clothes, you can end up with a mannequin, you can end up with you can, it's like a rabbit hole. So that's why I suppose when you're niching, you've got to kind of choose what niche you choose your favorite niches, I suppose, and maybe set your business up to help you process those items. Otherwise you're going to run out of space. But yeah, definitely. Richard Payne says my niche is anything that sells. Only thing I don't touch is clothes. All right, I'm just going to make sure I have not. Michelle Ainge says good topic. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Let me just scroll down. I think I've messed up the chat again. Diesel Engine Freak says I don't like selling clothing, but I did sell a leather jacket and a 3XL Harley Davidson shirt. So yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye out on things like that. Ray says, hi all, they had Brother label printers on offer in Sainsbury's a few days ago. They've got to be the right kind, Ray. Most people that are selling on eBay will want what are called 6x4 label printers. So I'll show you mine. There we go. Here we go, guys. Actually, I'll unplug it. There we go. That's the Zebra GK420. I got this off of eBay for about £100. It's a basic printer, but it's a thermal label printer. It does the job really well. I'm just gonna plug that in afterwards. But that's a 6x4-inch printer, so it prints on 6x4-inch labels, which are perfect for your Royal Mail and your Hermes and things like that. Southwest Seller says my address labels are very economical, £1.50 for 200 and a pen. That is super economical. However, how realistic is it? It's if you're doing a lot of shipping, it could become quite tiresome. So bear that in mind. Resale Anisha has popped in. Mo, hi, how are you, Mo? Thanks for popping in, appreciate it. Mr. Digsdeal says not found a niche yet. I sell all sorts and anything that makes me money. I think sometimes people get when I talk about niching, it doesn't mean that you're it's not like a religion or something that you can only be one or the other or something. When you're niching, you can have a couple of niches. It doesn't mean that you lock yourself off from everything. I mean, for example, guys, we've been doing a lot of RC. I wouldn't say I'm niched to RC. I'm really not. I wouldn't say that's all we're niched to. It's a lot of what we're selling at the moment, granted, but that's because that's what we came across. Who knows if the haul had been something else. So niching isn't, sometimes it can be seen with a negative connotation where you're niching and you're limiting yourself to a certain thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can have a number of niches that you're into, and they can all be, and you might find that you do better because if you choose niches that you're genuinely passionate and interested in, you might find you just enjoy listing and enjoy photographing those things more. You just might find that it makes the process a little bit easier. And also niching does have its benefits. So for example, if you're constantly picking up the same things, there are real efficiencies out to be had out of that, because then you can get into the territory of once you've sold an item in a niche and you're focused on that niche and you're going to be finding those items or similar items again and again and again, you can have listings which you can keep live, keep turning over. So for example, if you're into cameras, say if you love cameras and you're a real camera buff, or you love Polaroids, for example, once you've made your Polaroid listing for a used Polaroid camera, that's your work done, right? So and you're constantly finding them, you're sniping them off local Facebook pages or car boots or wherever, and or wherever you're going, and you've got that listing ready there, and that's an efficiency in a way, because you're not doing that work again, because you're not just selling unique items every time. So that's something to bear in mind. Karin says, I've had to buy a lot of stuff for my cover making. Yep, I mean, you do have to invest in yourself, and when you do, it does help. So like I mentioned, I've got my trusty amp and speaker set up, and it means when I come across a bit of electronics, I'm ready for it. I know that I'm ready for it. I know I can test it. And I'll give you another example of investing in what you want to do as well, because if you don't invest in what you want to do, you can put yourself off. So coffee machines, you guys know that I like picking up my coffee machines, right? And I did share a coffee machine on the Thrift Battle. And there's two types of coffee machines when you get to the commercial level of machines. You get machines which have their own internal water tank, which are really easy to test. You just pour some water into the internal water tank and switch on the machine, hope the pump kicks in and the machine works, and it's fine. Or like the machine that I showed on the Thrift Battle, you can get machines which need to be plumbed into the mains, much like your washing machine is plumbed into the mains. And because of that, testing those can be a bit different. But because I know I'm going to be picking those kinds of things up, I sometimes just go through phases where I know I'm going to be doing that a bit. I don't mind investing. And I'll show you this. I spent about 60 quid on this. It was 60 or 70 pounds. This is a flow jet. So I've invested in that, because what this does is this creates, it's a little pump which hooks up to like a big bottle of water. So you can, those bottles of water you can buy at Macro or at Booker's, like, 3 and 5 gallon, jugs of water. What this pump does is you can hook it up to a bottle of water like that, and it will create some water, like line pressure. So I can actually use this pump to feed my espresso machine, and it will mean we'll get to use the machine. I've already tried to convince Rebecca that I want to use the machine a little bit before I sell it on, because it is such a nice machine. It's cleaned up so well. But it also means in the future, when I see a commercial machine which needs plumbing in, which by the way will give me a competitive edge as well, because people that are looking to buy commercial machines may at first just be comfortable buying machines with the water tanks built in. They might not be set up, and they may not be comfortable buying a machine which needs water mains. But now I know I'm set up for it. I can happily find those items, and if I'm finding them cheap, I can test them as well. So a bit of investment. I completely understand, Corin. George Ross from Wiley Share says, obviously everyone knows my niche is in vintage, retro, and collectibles. So much fun. See, you call that a niche, George, but it's a bunch of niches there. Vintage is I wouldn't even, you can't call vintage, retro, and collectibles, in my humble opinion, just a niche, because it's broad. It's a big niche. Within that there's a lot. I mean, I would say niching down is when you get really specific about things. So for example, if you were to say that you're into vintage records, that's a niche rather than just vintage. That's my opinion, but fair enough. Matt Morris says, Z, thanks for that video on international shipping. Just sorted mine today. Hope to get some sales soon. I hope it was helpful, Matt. Yep, I'm a big fan of doing my own international shipping. Even though it can sting you sometimes you can make the odd error. But overall, it's brilliant. I shipped something out to Iceland today, which ended up having to pay a bit more than I would have liked because the um, the weight of the package, I miscalculated it. I should have put this item in a different weight range, and I ended up having to pay like a tenner towards the shipping. But because the item was, it was good profit, I didn't mind. And overall, I'm getting so many more sales internationally that it kind of swallows that up. All right, let's just go down the chat. Thank you, by the way, everybody, for the comments in the chat. And you know, if you've got any questions, please go for it, because then I can work with that, because obviously I'm by my lonesome today, so that'll be brilliant. Okay. Ray says hi to everyone else as well. Okay. Oh, Steve, if I haven't said hi to Steve, I'll say hi. Um, oh God, I need to just quickly. Every time I'm trying to scroll down like slowly, it just completely jumps. Okay. Simon Mitchell says, Z, question: why would I want a Zebra thermal printer? I use an A4 laser printer, so I only have to buy A4 paper. Toner hardly ever runs out. Costs per year about £10 at the most. What are your costs? Simon, that's a very good question. I've got a laser printer as well, and I did use a laser printer for a while, and you can print 4 labels onto an A4 sheet. I appreciate that. The benefits of the thermal printer for me were, I got really tired of using a guillotine to cut the labels out. And also, I know you can buy labels, A4 adhesive labels, but they're quite pricey. But also, the way, if you only have like 2 to print or 3 labels to print, then you've got 1 label spare and you have to move it around to get it to print to the right label on the sheet. But thermal printers don't use any ink. You can get thermal rolls really cheaply, and if you've got a Royal Mail online business account, you can actually get them as part of that for free. So if you've got that, then you get free rolls, and then you get you get the thermal printer. They obviously print on these nice sticky adhesive labels. You're only printing exactly what you need, so you're not having to, like I said, I did try using adhesive labels on an A4 printer, but you've got 4 labels. Now imagine if you're only printing out 3 items. Then you've got 1 left and you have to move it the next time you sell something. It's just a bit more awkward. And plus, it got to the stage, especially when we were getting more and more of the RC car sales, we're getting so many more of them per day. A lot more items per day were selling, and it was just a nightmare to constantly be just guillotining and guillotine and sellotaping labels on. It was just horrible. I did not enjoy it one bit, and it got to that point, and I find that for that reason as well, it's just helped make things a lot more efficient. I don't dread that process as much now. So that's my reasons, Simon. Jay Dennis says, my average selling price is £36. The weekend sales involve me packing 61 items up. Now got another 15 to do today. Wow, that is fantastic going. Yeah, I mean, if you've got that level of items going out, I would definitely say, some kind of a printer which at least prints out on adhesive labels would be a big time saver. Can you imagine if you're printing out 61 items on A4 paper, even if it's on labels, that if it's on labeled paper, then it's fine. But if it's not, then you're using like paper guillotine, scissors, and sellotape. Not cool. Peter Ray says, that's the thing, Southwest, like you can sell loads and make small profit, but then you can sell a small amount and make loads. Yeah, that the age old argument of how to how to run your business in terms of your value per item versus quantity of items sold and lower value price. It's so difficult. If obviously we've said this before, but ideally you'd have just high value items that sell all the time, but the real world doesn't work like that. I'd love that to happen, but we have found over the past few months that you've got to have a healthy mixture, and that's what we now aim to do. Okay, let's just scroll down. Okay, a lot of highs. Surely you could just connect it to your washing machine outlet for a lot less, says Kevin. Yes, I could. But that means moving around the washing machine. And now I've got like a little setup that I can use. Just convenience again. It's convenience. Um, Bombcrack Picker says him Ali only needs one more sub to get to 3,500. Oh, thank you very much. That'd be really cool. And Lex Oliver says, my niche is things what I like. And Alia's in the chat and says, Z, I saw a Hitari RC car in Croydon for £8, but I know nothing about that niche, so I passed. eBay wasn't that helpful. Hitari is not a brand that I'm aware of, Alia, so you probably did well to leave it. £8 sounds cheap, but I've not heard of that brand. There are with RC cars. There's a lot of toy grade cars, and there's not much money in toy grade RC cars. You want to look for hobby grade, and the brands to look out for hobby grade cars are obviously like Thunder Tiger, HPI, Tamiya, Traxxas. Gosh, there's Schumacher, there's Low C. There's ECX is an entry level one there. Yeah, I can just look behind me. So yeah, those are the ones that I would say you want to look out for. Armor as well. There's another one. So yeah. Okay. Just scroll down. I've just done it again. No. No. I hate this. I cannot keep this thing working. It's so frustrating. Scrolling up and down, there's got to be a better way of doing it. I need to just figure this out. It's really frustrating. I'm just going to pop the chat out, make it look a bit bigger. Alrighty then. Okay. Jay Dennis says, I found specialized selling works. You know what it's worth. And also, when you have large turnover, you can relist easy as you see the same things again and again. Yep, exactly. I did mention that, Jay Dennis, that, yeah, once you've got that, when you're looking for something, you find it, right? It's just human nature. If you decide that's what you want to look for, and you put your mind to it, you're going to find it. If you're a clothes seller, you will see clothes in every shop and you'll find the right clothes and the brands that you're looking for. If obviously you put the work in, the legwork in, that's how I'm coming across this RC stuff. That's how people come across the hi-fi stuff, whatever. It does. And then once you've got the listing, it works. And plus, once it means that you can just set yourself up to make your life easy. The more set up you are, the more you've got things in place to make whatever you're buying work. The easier things are. So clothes won't be daunting if you've got your clothing equipment ready. So for example, if you've got a debobbler, if you've got decent lighting, or you've got a mannequin and you've got a clothes team, clothes then suddenly become less daunting. It just makes it easier. I'm not saying these things are necessary by any means. There are plenty of sellers that do well by just like hanging their clothes off the back of a door and photographing them and selling them. So I'm not saying that. Same goes with anything else. It's just a case of making your life easy, it makes you more confident to pick things up. It just makes it more efficient for you. Question from Mr. Diggs Deals. Questions here: are the handheld label printers any good? I've never used a handheld label printer, Mr. Diggs Deals, but I wouldn't think they're right for printing out labels. For printing, when I say printing labels, I mean pre-purchased labels from Royal Mail or Hermes. You can print names and addresses on those handheld things just fine, and on little labels, and you'll save a bunch of time because you just type things in. But it still I wouldn't think that's a very efficient thing to do. I'd say get a printer that hooks up to your computer, and then you can do that with. Reseller Gaming Tom says, what's Nick's penalty for missing the tat chat? 40 lashings or Guitar Hero to the face? I don't know, Tom. There is no particular penalty for it. That's just bad luck. Good Use Goods Jewelry has popped in. There's someone who specializes in tech and games and is consistent. So that's fantastic. Okay, just got a ka-ching, says Claire and Leah. Fantastic. Lol, we use A4 paper with an ink tank printer. Cost is so small you cannot count it per page, says Jay Dennis. Fantastic. Um, um, Matt Morris says, I was working on using Markdown Manager to try sales to boost my overall figures. Seems to be working. Yep, Markdown Manager does work. In my humble opinion, again, I have used it. That's why we tend to list everything on good till cancelled. A lot of people tend to list stuff on 30 days, 10 days, whatever. I personally, again, it's personal preference. Is my just my personal preference. I prefer to use good till cancelled because it means I don't have to relist things. So just laziness there. And also it means that I can actually use Markdown Manager. So if I notice that there are items which are not shifting as quickly as I'd like, I've got the option of running a sale on them via Markdown Manager, which does work. I think, in my opinion, because it kind of strikes through a price, which is cool. There we go. Oh, Jewelry says only time I buy toy grade RC is when it's much older. Very good point, Jewelry. Good use goes, yeah, making a good point. You can do well with certain toy grade stuff as long as it is, vintage stuff, definitely. New Bright does okay. Yep. And he says I hardly ever find Tamiya. Yeah, Tamiya is not easy to come across nowadays, really. Most people, I've not really seen it out in the wild. You know what can be a pain selling, says Stephen Moore? Stuff for friends and family. Just don't get involved in it. I completely understand. That would be quite frustrating. I often get asked sometimes, like when I go down, my dad will ask me to sell something. I just go, oh, you can sell it. He knows how to sell it. He's got an eBay account. Try not to get too involved in that stuff, because like obviously the distance as well. If there was any issues, it'd be a real pain for us to sort that out. Selling stuff for friends and family, just try to, yeah. And Jury has just said straight away after that, actually, yep, I never do that anymore. Yeah, totally. Just avoid it. Things like that are just a pain. I sell stuff for other people and charge a reseller fee. Is that a niche? Says Mr. Diggs. It is a niche, I suppose. If you want to sell on concession, that's fantastic. I think some sellers do that, but it seems to come with a lot more headache than it could be potentially worth, because you sell something on behalf of someone, and imagine if you're offering your 30 days. I mean, do you get the person that you're selling it for to wait before any return period is expired? And then you're still open to the risk of a PayPal chargeback up to 180 days after the transaction's gone through. So whilst your concessionary seller has taken their cut of or taken their share of the item for you doing all the work, and then you've got that option, it kind of concerns me. If you've got any info on that, Mr. Diggs deals, that would be cool, but I'd be a bit about that. Right. Karin asks, can you choose how long you have a markdown on? Yes, you can. You have complete control over how long you run the sales for. You can actually set Markdown Manager sales up to about 6 months in advance, I'm pretty sure. So you've got control over that. So yeah, completely. You've just got to be careful when you want to use Markdown Manager. If you're one of those people that's twitchy about prices, I found that this really did affect me at first. I was one of those people that would be quite twitchy with my prices. And what I mean by that is I'd be constantly just adjusting prices, like, so say I've got an item up at $39.99. I might have decided, oh, I'll see if I can sell it for $34.99. And then it wouldn't sell. And I thought to myself, I know I'll sell it at $39.99. Why have I dropped it to 34? And then I'd put it back up to $39.99. The trick with Markdown Manager is an item has to be at its price for at least, I think it's at least 14 days. I think it used to be like 30 days, but it's 14 days now. Stephen Moore has a question. Says, I'm full-time now, Z. How many hours roughly do you do a weekday trying to get a routine? Man alive, Stephen Moore, that is a great question. Me and Beck and I have talked about this a lot. We don't do nearly as many as we should be doing hours wise. But then again, maybe that's part of the joy of what we do. We don't do anywhere near, I don't think we do anywhere near like a solid 40, 50 hours a week like you would do in a regular full-time job. I'd say we do a lot less. But sometimes we might work long days, but I think overall it's probably less. Um, but yeah, if you can get a routine going and you find out how, let me know, because we are still like we that's why we're doing like a Monday morning meetings and things, just to try to get ourselves into some kind of routine. And we have got a routine, but it's not necessarily as focused on the amount of hours you're doing. I mean, you don't clock watch when you're working for yourself. You just work until what needs to be done is done. And I think that's the difference, because, once you know you've done enough work in a week, you just know, and you're like, actually, I'm happy with how much work I've done. Now, that might be you've listed 100 new items, or you've done, a bunch of sorting, and you're happy with the amount of work that's done, and that could be enough for you. And I think that's how Beck and I seem to work. So you're not clock watching. You don't have to be like, oh, I've got to put in 40, 50 hours. God knows how, but we might be putting in that much, I don't know, but I got a feeling it's a lot less. Especially, as some of you may know, I was like streaming all day yesterday, and so there was definitely no work done yesterday, at least. Right. Yeah, Joan says Markdown Manager not so good in 30-day listings. Yeah, I'm not sure it's available. That's one of the things that made me choose Joan. That's one of the reasons that I started using Good Till Cancelled, was because it's Markdown Manager and all of that stuff is just not available on listings which are 30 days, from what I can see. They're just not there. It's only on Good Till Cancelled listings. So I thought, I want to take advantage of the tools that they've provided, and if I can only do that by using using Good Till Cancelled, then I'll use Good Till Cancelled. Right. Patrick Cusack says, I got a HP 2620 inkjet from Curry's today for £26. You get 10% off, but the offer runs out today. I bought it online. Thank you for sharing, Patrick. Maybe someone else will be able to get some use out of that. That would be really cool. BCP says, I don't have a label printer, so just write name and address neatly on parcels. I also sometimes check on Google Maps the address, as I have had a lot of wrongly spelled street names on PayPal details. Wow, that would take quite a lot of time to do, BCP, but if it's working for you, then that's fantastic, mate. Righty. Power Reselling has joined us as well. Hi there. Simon says, Z, I have a friend who had a lot of Tamiya. I sold it on his behalf and split profits 50-50. It runs very smoothly. Some cars, many hop-ups, so worth good money. Yep, the good old hop-ups. Absolutely love Tamiya hop-ups. They're so cool. It makes you feel like bling bling when you've got those fitted. Ryan has joined us. Hi there. Question, can I get a schmeg? Yeah. Okay, boyo. Okay. Very, very funny. Reseller Mum's in there as well. Hi there, Reseller Mum, if I didn't say hi to you earlier. Stephen Moore says, I am having more quality time with my wife and having little naps. It happens, yes. Naps become part of it becomes part of the day. You can, saying that, I've not had a nap recently. I've been too busy, but I think I wouldn't mind actually going for a nap again. Not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. I think I might fit one in, because I've not had one. I forget. You forget you can have daytime naps. But yeah, Alia says, I went to a refuse and recycling center only to be told there's only one place in the borough that actually has a shop. Why advertise it as a reuse then? So confusing. Yeah, that can be quite frustrating. I'm quite lucky that we live in like a small market town, and they've just got one recycling center which has a shop, and it's pretty cool. Stephen Moore says, I will have to come camp out and watch you through the window for a few days then. Okay, Stephen. Right. Reseller Mum says, I have a label printer, but we aren't friends yet. Just signed up to HP Instant Ink and no issue so far. I print 4 up labels. Okay. Well, if you ever need a hand with that label printer, Reseller Mum, I'm happy to help with that. They're not as intuitive. Like I mean, I think there's 2 main brands. There's Dymo and Zebra. If you've got a Zebra, they're not as intuitive to set up, I think, as the Dymo ones. The Dymo ones tend to be really good. BCP says, yes, it does take a lot of my valuable YouTube watching time, writing out the labels and checking out, and that's fantastic. Corin, adjust the price and try free postage. Just had 15 sales doing that on slow moving items. My selling strategy has been to add £2 to my price each 30 days. Wow, that is a unique strategy to just add prices. That's fantastic. Um, um, okay. Um, Question from Power Reselling. What was one of your first most profitable hauls? Can you remember? That's a cool question, Power Reselling. Oh gosh, top of my head, first haul that was profitable. I think I can't remember completely, but we did when we moved up here actually buy a bunch of God, I can't remember. Oh, damn it. That's a good question. One of my first, I'll go with the stamps. We bought a massive box of craft rubber stamps, which we paid like 25 quid for, but they have probably made us hundreds and hundreds of pounds since we've been selling them. So that's one thing that comes in, but there's been a few little hauls that have done pretty well, but that's one that I've just thought of. Adam says, hi all, can we start again, please? Unfortunately not, Adam. Oh, Z Fortnite count. What does that mean, Peter? Fortnite count. Don't think I've had a nap since 1985, says Resale Mum. Oh, that's sad to hear. Naps are so cool. They're just the best. Wow, super chat from Jimmy Retro says £2 super chat. Thank you, really do appreciate that. It's and he asked question, what's your favorite Tamiya RC car? You know what, I'd probably say the Grasshopper, just because like they're so iconic. But I can't talk about it too much now, but I've bought one recently which I will share with you guys at some point. But like I can't talk about it right now, but it's personal, it's not for anyway. Right, Joan says, I lost connection just as he was answering my comment. Oh gosh, I'm sorry about that, Joan. You can always make another comment and I'll make sure to answer it. Mr. Diggs says, Z, when I sell for other people, I always advise them to sell for more than they want due to people trying to get money off. So it sells at the higher price, then I take my fee. Has worked for me. That's good advice. You would have to, obviously, because of your involvement as like a middleman, as it were, you're obviously going to have to try to get a higher price, and bear in mind, you know, generally you're going to have to get a high price, and then you have to bear in mind the haggling side of things. So yes. Michelle Paulie says, love my local recycling center. I get the best deals there. Yep, you find that places like that tend to be quite good. Recycling centers and places like that tend to be quite good. Okay, just going down the chat. You guys have been absolutely amazing in the chat, by the way. Thank you so much. We've got over 90 people watching. You guys are coming up with some really nice questions, and I totally appreciate it. Absolutely fantastic. Chat would not be the same without you guys, because I would have been like that. Okay, let's go through. I just need an assistant that does all the work and I just take the money, says Corin. Yes, don't we all? Question from the Hillsman. Please, may I have two of those Maxwell discs, or where do you get them? 2 of those Maxwell discs? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, sure. Like, you mean these, like, they're like blank. Yeah, this is another thing I keep. See, what this was, I bought a CD recorder ages ago. So this is a great example of just preparation, I suppose, in a way, even though it looks very unprepared, just sat there. But these came with a Philips CD recorder for a hi-fi system. It was like a hi-fi separate. Now, believe it or not all CD recorders can record music onto data CDs. You need to have music, like blank audio music CDs. So you can actually see these CDs do specifically say they're music, so that even though they're, you might just think, oh, it's a 700 megabyte blank CD, it's just like a CDR. Not true. If you were to actually put a blank CDR, as I did, into certain models of a Philips CD recorder for a hi-fi separate, it just won't recognize the disc. It'll actually tell you, put in a music, like an audio a blank audio CD for you to be able to actually record onto CD. So that's what I do. Yeah. So that's what I use. Okay. Yeah, I got them as part of a car boot haul thing, the Hillsman. Um, you know what it means, he says, Peter, right? um, I am late to the party too, says Rod at Win by Doing. Not at all, not at all. For anyone that's late, yeah, just to mention one more time because we're near the end of the chat. But yeah, Nick wasn't able to make it today because he forgot it was Tuesday, and he's actually in the middle of a 13-mile walk. So there we go. Righty then. 93 resellers not working right now, says clicking. Oh, they may well be working. People often put streams and things on in the background whilst they're working, so it may well be doing that. There you go, says Power Reselling. You can work and listen. I use it like a podcast. Exactly. You don't need to be looking at my ugly mug. You can just be listening to it. Adam says, Z, will you talk about your RC purchase that you're not talking about on your other channel? Lol, says Adam. No, not yet. But yes, I will be making a video about it on my other channel. Thank you, Adam. I'm not going to do that joke now because Beck says it's not funny. So I'm going to be careful and not do it. So Southwest Sellers is multitasking. He's also eating and watching. There we go. That's multitasking in my book. Resale Mum says, thanks, Z Reprinter. We'll look at it again. Fantastic. Thank you, Z, for going ahead with the show, says BCP. Oh, not at all. I'd never miss it. I absolutely enjoy doing it, and you guys make it perfect. Just, Richard Howell says, I have just got my foot in the door at my local recycling center. Taken a long time, but they now save items for me and do me a good deal. Now on a first name terms with the boss there. That, in a nutshell, is what makes people get a competitive edge. I think, yeah, it's like people skills. I know we sell online, and I suppose sometimes this isn't talked about, and I know this is like way off topic, but it's still an interesting thing to think about. Like, we all sell on eBay, right? We're like online sellers, and by that it's easy to think, oh, you don't need to talk to people, you don't have to deal with people, and to an extent it's kind of true. But when it comes to the sourcing and actually even dealing in text with people, even dealing in messages with people, it does help to be like a people person, if that makes any sense. Just be that bit more empathetic and just know how to talk to people, like mirror them, get to kind of, I'm not saying like mirror them completely because that's like taking the mick, isn't it? But I mean, you do it without thinking, but sometimes when you're talking to someone, like you have a phone voice, right? Or you might not, but apparently I've got a phone voice. When I'm on the phone, I have a phone voice, and it changes according to whom like I'm talking to. So just things like that, worth actually bearing in mind. And the result of being able to talk to people in the right way is exactly what Richard Howell has just shared. And that's going to be brilliant. Hopefully that works out really well for you, Richard. Mr. Diggs says, anyone ever buy stuff from their local public library, as mine get rid of books, DVDs and CDs? Very good tip. If there are any libraries left near you, they are obviously shamefully being shut down at quite a high rate, which is a shame. Z, you're now at 3,500. Congrats. Thank you, Peter, and thank you everybody who subscribed to the channel. Beck and I are both chuffed that the channel has grown to 3,500 subscribers. We are over the moon with that. Thank you very much. Rod at Win by Doing says, I'm pseudo working. I like that, pseudo working. Okay. Alia super chatted £2. Thank you, Alia. Really appreciate it. SF2, when did you first play it? Fave memory of it? Wow, that's an off-topic question, Alia. My first ever actual play at Street Fighter 2, believe it or not, was on my friend had a Super NES, and obviously they had Super Turbo, right? Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the bundle box. And so that was my first like ever taste of it. And it was just Hadouken spamming, Ryu versus Ken, Hadouken spamming for the whole match. And that really got me into it, but I didn't have a console at that point. And my first actual full-on interaction with Street Fighter was when I had my Commodore Amiga, and I bought Street Fighter 2 big box edition for the Commodore Amiga, and you had to switch discs. And I was so excited when I found out that there was a cheat code to allow you to mirror match, because on the SNES, I believe you could change costume colors depending on the button you pressed and stuff like that. But on the Amiga version, you just had Ryu in his white outfit, Ken in his red outfit, and that was it. And I thought, wow, you can mirror match, and the outfits are going to change. And there was a code, and I entered the code, and I was so disappointed when they were still the same outfit. So if you were Ryu versus Ryu, you'd still both be in white. It's just one of you would then have a flashing arrow above your head, and I was gutted. But yes, that was my first. That was my first. Yeah, that was my first memory of it. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for the Street Fighter question. Peter Ray says the posh voice instead of the London one. What are you talking about, Peter? Right. What's the best thing you guys have found in recycling centers? I was almost addicted, but there's only one in my area, says Alia. Oh wow, yeah, recycling centers are brilliant. The Yamaha systems, the Yamaha CD hard drive recorders that I shared on the thrift battle on Bonafide Hustlers channel, actually picked up from the tip shop, actually. So that was a tip shop pickup. So I was really pleased with that. By the way, guys, for those of you that are still in the chat, we've got over 80 people in here. I just wanted to mention the next thrift battle, the thrift battle championship on Bonafide Hustlers channel, will be on not this Wednesday. It'll be a week from tomorrow, 7 p.m. local their time. So it's probably going to be like 1 a.m. Wednesday as usual. And I think I'm up against oh gosh, Rockstar Flip. I think. So I'm going to have to go and start sourcing again, because I haven't been sourcing. So I didn't go to Car Boots this weekend, which was silly. But there we go. Right, question. Are you going... Stephen Moore's question. I should really read the question before I just read it out, because I see question. Question: are you going to shave Alfie for charity this year? Says Stephen Moore. No, I'm not going to shave Alfie. I don't think he would be very happy about that. I'm not sure. So fantastic. Karen says good luck with the thrift battle. Yeah. Karen says I just used to press any combo of buttons when I played it. No clue what I was doing. Neither did I really. Question: when's the next reseller price is right? We'll have to probably speak to Nick about that, Hillsman. We normally arrange those with Nick, and he gets a bunch of people together. So we'll see, because I don't know of any planned. But yeah. Reseller Mum says, when's the thrift battle again? It'll be next Wednesday, Reseller Mum. Claire King asks, how's the shed? Beck didn't lock me in the shed, guys. Come on. Anyway, guys, it is now past 7 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Really do appreciate you joining in, and for all the questions and the comments in the chat. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. Oh, I played it on the Amiga 500 first time. It had 4 discs, said Alia. Wow, 4 discs. I thought it had 2. Maybe I might have gotten it wrong. I can't remember. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining in. Really do appreciate it. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the comments, the questions. We will see you. I think we'll be putting a video out tomorrow on this channel, and then we'll be doing the Friday chinwag with myself and Beck. So we will see you then. If you enjoyed it, just smash the like button, like Southwest Seller says, and we will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Now I've got to figure out how to switch this off. I always forget, because this is not how I normally do it. All right, bye guys.